All right, let's get started as we break open some more title abstracting made simple. Okay, so I want to go over some things that we went over recently, but I realized that as I pulled the image up on the screen, you guys weren't able to hear me. So we're going to try that once more. Today, we're going to be talking about the direct index and effective dates. We'll be talking about the physical direct index in the records room because a lot of you have not had a lot of experience in the records room outside of the training that we've given you in terms of assignments to go into the records room, or those of you that we physically taken into the records room. So you've not had that experience. So I want to help you to just get familiar with what it is that you'll be looking for. All right. All right. So I am also going to check. Remember, I said from now on, if I ever teach this thing live, that I'm going to have a way to check myself. That's exactly what I'm about to do. So you may hear the sound of me checking myself, but I'd rather do it this way than to find out later that there was no sound, because that's not going to be effective for you guys. I'm here for you guys. I want to make sure that I'm doing what needs to be done to help get this thing off the ground for everybody. So my job is to make sure that I'm a resource. I can't be a very good resource if you can't hear me, right? All right, so here we go. All right, checking the sound on this thing. All right, we got liftoff. All right, so here you see this image of the direct index book. So when you go into the records room, you're going to be looking for these books, because chances are you're in the records room because what you needed is not online. So you're not going to be able to find it online. That means that you're going to have to physically go into the records room and pull out these index books, right? Sometimes in the county, when you go into the records room, they have online information that goes back further. It exceeds what's on the online visibility for laymen. So that could be a possibility as well. They could have a separate online computer that you can, online system that you can log into to see if they've got some deeds further back than what you were able to see traditionally online, or in terms of the visibility that you had access to. Okay, they may have more access to more visibility. If not, you're going to need to go to these hard copy books, right? We talked about the direct and the reverse index books. I just want you to know what they look like. They look similar to this. They're on the book. They'll have the letters. So from A, this book consists of index from A to K. And then there's also a time frame that's written on the spine of the book. Something like from 1950 to 1955. So you know that the document that you're looking for, you need to know the last name of the individual that you're looking for. And of course, these letters and these alphabets are based on the last name. It's index based on the last name. All right. So you'll look that up, and you'll make sure that you're within the time frame that you want to research. So let's say you had a person whose current deed was recorded in 1960, right? But you want to make sure that they haven't sold that property to somebody else. So you're going to search the direct index to make sure they haven't granted their vested interest in the property to somebody else. You're going to research from that index book forward to current, or as far as the books will go. And then you'll go to the computer. Matter of fact, you should have already researched the computer online. And what you're doing now is searching, as far back as the computer will go, system will go, online system will go. And now you're in the records room bridging that gap. So you're going to search in that book from the time that they obtained the property, the time that the deed was vested to them, forward. Okay. Right. Until you get out of the books. All right. So, because what you're trying to make sure of is that they haven't conveyed that property to somebody else. Now, you're also going to be checking for mortgages and making sure that those mortgages are satisfied. Yes. But the main thing you're checking for right now is in this procedure is to make sure that they haven't conveyed the property to anyone else. That's what's vitally important. You've already found your deed. You know, you've already gotten your mortgage information. You've already confirmed that the mortgages that you located have been either they're satisfied, or you've located the ones that, and or you've located the ones that are open. But now you're trying to make sure that from the time that this property was conveyed to this individual, that they have not conveyed any interest to anyone else or sold a portion of the property to anyone else. Okay. All right. So if you're looking at these books, this is what the reverse index books and the direct index books look like. Online, when I talk to you about searching the reverse index online, there's a if you're looking at the historical index online, it will also be identified as reverse indirect. And remember what we said, when you're looking to see when a person was vested interest in a property, you're going to be looking in the grantee index. And if you're trying to find out who the grantor received the property from, you know, what date they were vested with the property, you're going to use that reverse index, right? And you're going to keep going back in the reverse index until you complete the state statute or the two owner search or the 24-month search. You're just making sure of the title history. And the way that you research the title chain is by researching through the reverse index. Okay. If you're looking to see if something is you know, you found a mortgage, it's an old mortgage, but you never did find the satisfaction, you can go through the reverse index to see if there was a satisfaction or a release that was recorded. Okay. All right. The direct index is going to indicate if that individual that's vested has conveyed any interest in this property or any equitable rights like a mortgage or to anyone else. And the reason why you're searching the older books is because there's a gap in what you're looking for online. And we don't leave any gaps, right? No stone unturned. All right. This is what it looks like when you go into the records room. All right. On that, let's see here. Let's see. You can't see the date on there. On that book though, on its spine there is a time frame. You're researching the time frame within the time frame in each book coming forward. All right. So if you've researched, they bought the property in 1960 and your book goes from 1955 to 1962. All right. Then you're going to search that book coming forward because you're trying to see if they conveyed their property to anybody else from the time that they were vested in 1960. Then you go, the next book might be from 1963 to 1967. Then you'll research that book, direct index book. Likewise, if you were going in the reverse, it would be the same thing. You would look at the time frame that's necessary. Okay. All right. All right. So here, if you can see this really good, this is the Register of Deeds, excuse me, the Judge of Superior Court record or online website. Yeah, this is the online website for the recorded documents. So we know in Hennepin, it's going to look different. In Hennepin, Minnesota, it's going to look different. You know, if you are in Georgia with the Clerk of Superior Court, it's going to look different. Right? All right. So what you're going to do is you find out from the assessor's office the name of the office that houses the land records, the mortgages, and the deeds, so that you'll know how to research online to find that particular site. Now, there are some copycat sites, and typically they will charge you. But if it's the actual official site of the land records, then what they will normally charge you is for your copies. Some of them will charge you to research. You know, they'll charge you a research fee. But if it's the actual county, they're going to charge you for copies. But they don't typically charge you a research fee unless they're doing it for you. But now there are some other external independent sites that work really good. But check to see if you can go directly to the county's site, if they have a website, and you can search their recorded documentation. And then that way you'll just be paying for copies. Does that make sense? But there are several independent companies. Like if you are in Tennessee, Title Researchers is an excellent online resource. And several of those counties in Tennessee and Florida, they have their own site. Florida has this big, massive independent site, right, that you can go to. And it will have so many of the county records there for land records. Georgia has the Georgia Clerk of Authorities. Yeah. Yeah. And so you can just go into the Clerk of Superior Court records online, and it's the gccca.org. Yeah. They've got the official records there for all of the counties, the Clerk of Superior Court offices throughout the state. And you can go to that site and research. Yeah. So it makes it easier for you. But even in Georgia, I think they've got some independent companies that are available to you if necessary. All right. So I just want to make sure that you know how to and remember how to pull up the land records, because we've already looked at the tax assessors online visual. We looked at it for a couple of counties, and I wanted to make sure that you understood here how to find the online land records, okay, for your particular state and county that you may be researching. All right. I also wanted to make sure you understood what you might be seeing when you go into the records room and what those records may look like in terms of books and hard copies of books. Okay. All right. So I will now, okay, yeah, I've already closed that out, so we don't have to worry about that. Now I want to get into a couple of things here. We were talking about yesterday the research and how to complete your write-up sheet. Okay. We talked about that, and I may need to do that again, because I want to make sure that you guys, hold on a second. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to, since I'm reviewing, to make sure that everybody had the necessary information they needed in order to complete their search assignment, because I pretty much gave a lot of you. Now, some of you I haven't given search assignments to, but a lot of you I've given research assignments, and I want to make sure that you're completing them. And I understand that they can get, if you're apprehensive about doing it, I know that, it can be intimidating to you. But a lot of you have been, you've done quite a few of these exercises and you're feeling pretty confident. Now, some of you purchased the limited franchise, but the one thing that you haven't done is immerse yourself in the abstracting. And I've mentioned to you multiple times before, your stability, your stable income is going to come from the abstracting. And when you purchase that limited franchise agreement, when you enter into that agreement, you only have a certain amount of time to recoup your return on investment. And then after that, you're going to begin to feel the sting of the costs that you are investing. Yeah. Which is why I don't understand the hesitancy of some of you to go right on into abstracting. That is what you entered into in terms of the limited franchise agreement. I think some of you get distracted and think that there are other ways. And that's interesting that you would pay for a course, have someone that's been doing it for decades attempt to help you, but then you decide that there's something else that might work out better, but you're still paying for it and have invested those funds. Even if you stop paying for it, you've still invested those funds, which you should have seen the benefit of. We've had testimonials here of how we've helped people and they have seen the benefits right away, immediately. Okay. And there's been longevity there. So if you've seen that and you've seen the testimonials, then that means that you straying away or losing your focus or your attention is going to be your issue. It's going to be the thing that's going to hinder you from seeing profits. And I've worked with people before, and I know that there is a mindset that just will not follow, just is going to have to defray from whatever the structure is that's set up, because that's just the nature of the mindset. What happens with that mindset is you go through so much, and then you lose quite a bit, and then you're trying to catch up with what was already established and people were attempting to teach you initially. If that's you, I really I feel for you, because this is a business that you got to catch quick. And I'm not talking about learning the research. I'm talking about you got to catch quickly how to obtain clients and get that set up. You're doing that while you're learning. Yeah, because it's going to take a while before they start ordering from you. So you're doing that from day one. You're the list that we send you, you're signing up with those clients. Now, some of you, I noticed in the beginning, you heard about closings, or you heard about field services, that's property inspections, and you wanted to go off and do that. Well, we don't hinder you from doing whatever it is that you want to do, but we're constantly saying to you, abstracting is where you want to focus your attention, because there's stability in that, and there's a substantial amount of revenue that you can create for your company, and you can begin to hire others and create jobs in that way. So I just want to make sure everybody has seen this write-up sheet. We just went over it in one of the prior videos, but I want to make sure that you understand the order here. So at the top up here, you put the effective date that's good for your county and state that you're researching at the time. Up here, the basic information of whatever your search fee is, plus copies. You always want to add your copies up here. So it will be your search fee plus your copies. Very important, okay, that you bill for your copies. That's a very vital, okay? All right, and I've talked to you all one-on-one, because I've had some people say, well, some counties don't charge. I'm going to tell you again, it's very important that you charge for your copies, okay? And I've explained to you why that's very, very, very important, right? You're not just passing on a cost. You're creating a profit margin for yourself. So we always charge $1 a page. Now, some counties charge $1.25. Some counties charge $1.50 per page, all right? But you want to make sure that you're charging for your copies, and you're remembering your fractional or marginal profit margin. Okay. All right. All right. So of course, you would enter the correct year for the property taxes. For the warranty deed, you're going to enter the book and page reference here, and you can always create your own write-up sheet. We put the book and page reference right next to the words current deed, along with the type of deed. If it's a quitclaim deed, if it's a special warranty deed, we put that information right next to the booking page. We enter that there. Grantor, grantee, we just went over that in our last class. All right. Grantor, grantee. All right. And what else? The tenancy. So when you enter the grantee's name, you're going to enter the tenancy right next to it. And sometimes when you are entering the mortgage information, so next to mortgagee, you're going to list the mortgage company's name. I'm sorry, next to mortgage, you're going to list the book and page reference, right? If there is a PUD, you're going to go ahead and plan unit development, you're going to go ahead and list that there. The mortgagor will be the borrower. The mortgagee would be the lender. Now, if it's a mortgage electronic registrations systems mortgage, then you're going to type in MERS, MERS, as nominee for, and then you put the mortgage company's name right next to that. All right. If you ever see MERS on that mortgage, that's mortgage electronic registration systems, and you're going to want to enter, when you enter the mortgage, start it by saying MERS as nominee for, and then you list the actual mortgage company's name. And you see here we have dated. All right, next to it, you're going to type in recorded. So you put the date it was executed here. And sometimes the date that's typed on the document and the date that it was executed can differ. Use the date that the document was executed. So that's the date you're going to list next to dated. Then you're going to type the word recorded, and you'll list the recorded date. Yeah. Now you've got sometimes when that document may have been signed on a particular date and recorded several years later. So you're going to put in parentheses, executed on this date, recorded on this date, right? Okay, real important, because that could be several years later. If you got multiple mortgages, there's additional mortgage space down here. You want to search, again, we talked about yesterday, for any liens, judgments, or UCCs, and list those here. What you're listing is the book and page reference of that document, the type of document that it is. And then you can say see attach, and attach that particular document. Right. On an additional page, you can add all of the information in terms of the lien holder, the amount of the lien, the date the document was recorded, and the instrument or case number or book and page number. You can list that on a separate document, as well as any bag chain information that you may have. You're going to list that on a separate document. Okay. Now that was just, all I'm doing is just giving you, I like to give you kind of a, what do you call it? I guess refresher, because a lot of you are getting ready to take your exams for the first 4 chapters. And so I'm just giving you a refresher in hopes that that will help you. Now, when we come back with the next module, we're going to get into talking about tenancies. This module was about the direct index in the county, as well as online effective dates and how to use that. So when you're looking at the online effective dates, most of the time when you go to the county's site and you go to the actual area where the recorded documents are, they're going to have an effective date on there, and they update it often. It'll give the county's effective date. If you don't see it, you can always just give the county office a call where the land records are housed. You can call that particular office and ask them the effective date of their records. Now, check this out. I have called counties before and asked them the date of that their records are effective, and they didn't even know what I was talking about. They were befuddled. So but remember that effective date is the date that the county's records are good through. So because they get a stack of documents to record, and sometimes that stack of documents can span, the date range can span. And so they might have, so today is November 13th. Okay, so they may have documents in their stack that have been signed and endorsed and closed maybe from the 7th of November to now, right? Or the 6th of November until now, right? And they may have recorded everything all the way up to the 10th of November. Do you see what I mean? So their effective date would be November the 10th. Because everything that they've recorded is up to November 10th, to include November 10th. Make sense? That would be their effective date. All right. Yeah, it's critical that you include that on your run sheet, because it indicates how current the document information is and how relative it is to the latest updates in the public records. See, this date represents the point at which the county's records are up to date and accessible to the public. They used to have what's called a day book, and that day book would be documentation that they have actually recorded in their records, but maybe has not been stamped yet, or it has not been included in the books yet. So that would be in the day book. It gives a snapshot of the most recently processed filings, and real estate transactions rely heavily on timing. Yeah. Accurate data is important because it's based on, what do we say? The order of recordation. So knowing the effective date helps to assess whether or not additional pending records might be available somewhere that could affect or impact the property's title. Does that make sense? So if the county's effective date is listed as May the 1st, 2025, and the property taxes transfer was recorded on May the 3rd, then the transaction may not yet be reflected in the official records. Does that make sense? So we have to understand the cutoff date, and that helps us. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here. I just want to make sure you guys understood the county recordation system and the effective dates. We're going to come back and we're going to talk more about tenancies. Okay. All right. So you guys hang in there, and we will be right back.